I turned 22 the other day, so of course, I got some books. Okay, so I got a few books, not a ton. I usually don't buy books that often, usually only for like Christmas or my birthday. Like I said, it was my birthday the other day. My husband and I went to Powell's bookstore, not the ginormous one, so there's two. There's the ginormous one that is the biggest used bookstore, I think, in the world, and that one is really awesome. It's in downtown Portland. I don't like to parallel park, so I don't like going to that one that much. Also, downtown Portland can be kind of sketchy sometimes, so we don't really go into Portland that often. But there's another location that is in Beaverton that's much smaller, but has a better parking situation for me, and honestly still has a great selection and is still Powell's Books. It's just another location that is a smaller store. So I went there, and that's where I got these books. So I thought I would just tell you about them. I got 4 books. The first one is From Here to Eternity by Caitlin Doughty. I read Smoke Gets in Your Eyes last year, and I really, really loved it. Basically, Caitlin Doughty is a mortician, and she writes books about death, her experience in the death industry, and this one is about different death practices around the world, different cultural practices surrounding death, burial, grief, mourning, all of that. And I found some of, in Smoke Gets in Your Eyes, there are a few parts where she does talk about like various cultures, and I really, really loved those parts of the book. And then my sister was like, you gotta read this one because that is what this one is about. It's all about cultural practices all over the world. And so that's something that I find very, very compelling, very interesting, so I'm excited to read this one. The next one I got was Devotions by Mary Oliver. I have never read a poetry collection before, I will not lie, but I know that Mary Oliver, a lot of her poems are about nature and animals and the earth, and I really like that stuff, and so I just thought, you know what, I'm gonna try this. I never realized, I've always seen this cover, but I never realized what the picture actually is. The picture is of her, or someone, I don't know if it's her, spoon feeding a bird. Look how freaking cute that is. Look at a little bird. Anyway, I love nature. I live in a very naturey place. I live in the Pacific Northwest. Obviously, I just told you about that I was not that far away from Portland, but where I live, we live on a 5-acre farm, and there are a ton of birds and wildlife that are here all the time, and it's just absolutely beautiful. I love nature. I love being outside. I love animals, so I just thought, you know what? Let's get some poetry. Let's poetry it up. So that was Devotions by Mary Oliver. The next book that I got, I'm actually about halfway through. You can see my cute little Powell's bookmark. And that is The Frugal Wizard's Handbook for Surviving Medieval England by Brandon Sanderson. I have only read one Brandon Sanderson? That seems wrong. I think it's right though. I think I've only read one Brandon Sanderson. He's a prolific fantasy author though, so I don't know why I've only read one of his books. The one that I've read is Trust in the Emerald Sea, which I did enjoy. But this is about a man who wakes up in medieval England and doesn't remember anything and has to kind of figure out what's going on. It's a little bit sci-fi-y and a little bit fantasy, and I'm really enjoying it so far. Like I said, I'm about halfway through. I think I'm going to finish this in the next couple days. I've been in a major reading slump, and so I was really hoping that these books would pull me out of it, and so far so good. So I am really enjoying this one, and I can't wait to jump back into it. And honestly, I've really enjoyed Brandon Sanderson's books that I've read, and I'm like, I need to read more of them because I love fantasy, and he is like the fantasy guy. And also, his books are generally pretty clean, which I appreciate because I don't really like reading like smut or super gratuitous violence or anything like this. And I'm also pretty sure, yes, he does. He teaches at BYU, I mean. So he is also a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which I am. So that's also just like a fun thing to relate to him on, I guess. So yeah, that's that one. And then the last book that I got is one of my most anticipated reads of the year, and I really hope it goes well, and that is The Last Murder at the End of the World by Stuart Turton. And look, the edges are sprayed blue. Isn't that cool? And then the inside is like a pretty map. Is this part cool? Oh, it's just yellow, which isn't bad. I like yellow. But anyway, so it's a very beautiful book, but this is about an island that is surrounded by fog, and there are these scientists that keep the fog at bay, and the fog has killed off everybody else on the planet Earth. And so there's just a group of people on this island and the scientists who keep the fog at bay. one of the scientists get murdered, and then they only have, I think it's like 24 hours or something like that. Does it say? Oh, 107 hours. That's kind of a random amount. 107 hours. They only have 107 hours to solve the murder before the fog will come for them all. So I am really looking forward to this one. The other book that I've read by him is 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle, and I really liked that one a lot. There were a lot of twists and things I didn't expect, and so I'm hoping that this one will be similar enough. Similar vibes, I guess. But yeah, so those were the 4 books I got. Let me just hold them up for you again. I'm very happy about them, and I'm excited to read them. I'm really hoping that they pull me out of the reading slump I've been in. I have been in the biggest reading slump, I think, since I started reading again, like constantly. This is the past, honestly, since my son has been born, 5 months. I have still read, but I've only been reading like 3 books a month, which is a low number for me. If that's how many you read regularly, don't feel bad about that. That's totally fine. That's just a low number for me. I'm generally a pretty fast reader, and I read a lot. So it has been just an incredible bummer to be in this much of a reading slump, but I'm already loving this Brandon Sanderson. I hope I love the rest of them, and I am very, very excited to read them. I think they were good purchases. So happy birthday to me. I get to read, and I'm very happy about that. And thank you for being here and listening to me talk about books. And I will see you in my next video. Bye!